who are coming online and watching. Welcome to the Ethical Humanist Society of the Triangle. Thank you for coming to our meeting today. My name is Maura Breidt. I am a member of the trustees. The Ethical Humanist Society of the Triangle promotes the use of reason and science and search for and commitment to living an ethical life that benefits all humanity. We believe that personal inquiry, responsibility, and accountability are the best bases for ethical decision-making. Our weekly forums seek to broaden our understanding of ethics and human nature, and our congregational community encourages us to share diverse opinions, friendship, and camaraderie. We welcome everyone to share in our journey. I don't believe we have anybody inside the physical room who needs any more information, but if anybody on the Zoom is looking for information, please feel free to drop a line in the chat. I'm sure that Chris, our Zoom maestro, will be happy to help you. So we are a community inside a larger community, which means that we can share joys and concerns, small and large. So I will open up the floor for that. Fred.
I have the mic too. Ha! Yesterday, I went to and kind of emceed a celebration of life for my friend Roger Lee Thompson, who passed away recently. And as you can guess from the name, he was originally from the South. He grew up in Central Florida. His brother was a member of the Klan. But Roger worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in the Agricultural Research Service in the same lab group that I worked in, and we became friends. The first time I was in a car with him, he told me a racist joke, and I told him, that doesn't go with me. And USDA, we got what we used to call in the early days, in the 90s, early 90s, sensitivity training, which they laid on thick and heavy for years and years. And it sinks into people. And Roger adjusted his views, ended up being not married, but practically for all practical purposes, married to a woman who's one of the most liberal people I know. And his views became very similar to hers in many ways. He had a heart of gold. And he was a very good friend. So that's it.
Stevie.
Who? Next.
I probably shouldn't say anything, but I'm going to complain. I had a difficult week. It's like,
Joys and concerns, that's a concern.
yeah, that's good. Well, anyway, we were supposed to go to New York next weekend for my son's half brother's bar mitzvah. And I became friends with the mom. You know, both of us were left while pregnant, you know, with our children by the same human being. And I felt bad because Daniel really wanted to go. But Daniel calls me like a few days ago and he goes, Mom, I have to go to the doctor. I think I have myocarditis and it could be fatal. And then I said, well, let's check, you know, like call the doctor, make an appointment, made an appointment. It was GERD. Okay, that got straightened out. Then the same day, Jeff calls me from his car and he said, I had to get an EKG and I have like, not PVCs, CVC, I don't know, something to do with heart, you know? Yeah. Okay, because I thought that was PVC pipes. I don't know what it is, but I didn't know what it was. But I was just like walking in the neighborhood when I got these two calls, you know, just walking in the neighborhood. Meanwhile, we just found out the venue for the bar mitzvah is somewhere different. And we, you know, there's a lot of logistics in New York City and we have to travel at rush hour and lots of planes, you know, lots of trains, but, you know, all kinds of nonsense. I was already nervous, you know, and then I found out that I have to get an implant on Monday. So anyway, so I had these three little things and I was just going out of my mind. And then finally I just, you know, called and said, I canceled everything, got my money back and we're not going. So I'll actually be around next weekend after all. We're all fine.
Anybody else? Dorothy.
Because we're a small group, I'm going to overshare. So I'm a new grandma. My my grandson was born September 15th. But I want to just share a story of gratitude. So some of you may have heard this story because I used to tell it a lot. When my son Zach was born, who is the father of the new grandchild, he had a tough start. He was a difficult forceps delivery, and he got a 3 on his newborn APGAR score, which is where they decide the health of newborns. And that was his first score. It went up. He had strep, blah, 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 blah. It was a very traumatic beginning, and it really bonded me to him. And the poor guy, who's now 30, about to be 38, the poor guy had to hear the story of this every year on his birthday once he was old enough to hear it, because it was incredibly important to me. But that probably wasn't the way to deal with it. But anyway, turns out my grandson, so we were still on the road on our big RV trip, and my son had let me know that his wife was going to be induced because the baby was quite large, and both of them are very tall. And so I woke up the morning of the September 15th and I hadn't heard anything. So I was like, oh God, she must still be in labor. This is going to be a long thing. And then a couple hours later, my son called me, and he was very calm, but he said there were some complications. And I'll make it fast. She turned out, she was in labor, wound up having what's called a prolapsed umbilical cord.
Ooh.
So the umbilical cord was coming out first. The baby's head had stopped all blood flow. Their OBGYN had left to go look after another person in labor, and the resident picked this up and immediately triggered the protocol, which is to go in, raise the baby's head, and do an emergency C-section. So they did a C-section in 4 minutes. And that baby, well, not that baby, my grandson James, APGAR score was 1.
Oh.
And, Zach shared all this with me, and he was pretty calm. And I said, you sound remarkably calm. And he said, well, a couple of hours ago, I completely fell apart, but blah, blah, blah. Because once they put her into surgery, he was left alone, for like 45 minutes or something, or whatever it was. And the parallels are incredible, because he said he could tell something was really wrong because all these people converged and they called for more doctors. And I remember that experience. I just thought, obviously I cursed him by telling him this story every year. Anyway, the bottom line is Zach was told it was touch and go, Zach, my son, and they were going to transfer James to a hospital with a better neonatal unit. And by the end of that day, they had canceled the transfer. Things were looking better. This happened on a Monday, and by Friday, they all went home. So the gratitude is incredible. And the parallels are whatever my feelings are. I can't even put them into words. Have not met James yet, but should be meeting him in the next few weeks. And I'm just sharing that. The gratitude is unbelievable.
Thank you, Dorothy. Wonderful story.
Dorothy, that reminds me that when my first daughter was born, um, it was a difficult birth, like you referred to. And at one point, the nurse looked at me right in the face and said what the options were. And then she said, "Do you understand?" Just like that. And I said, "Okay, this must really be serious," because she's talking to me like that. So I said, "Yes, I do." So anyway, I can sympathize.
Wow.
Also gratitude.
Yeah.
Christina?
Sorry, go ahead. Basically, I just wanted to say that after 6 weeks of daily to constant migraines, I finally got in for a new infusion IV treatment. They haven't stopped yet, but I'm hopeful that it'll kick in. So we'll see.
Good luck.
Okay, since there are no more, I will just add one, which was, this is more of an experience than a joy or concern. Well, part of it was a concern. I was at the Wake SPCA on Thursday evening, and I just came in on Thursday evening to do dog medicines, and Melissa is a woman who, I guess she's probably somewhere in her 70s. I'm really not sure how old she is. She's definitely retired, but she comes in Thursday and Friday afternoons, 2 to 6:30 or so, to do medical treatment room assistant stuff. And we were winding things down, and she says, I don't feel right. I feel kind of funny. I'm dizzy. So we brought her in the treatment room. She sat down in a chair. We gave her one of those little pretzels that has like a yogurt thing on it for the sugar, and got her some water. And then she did a convulsing thing in the chair, and her head hung down. And so Chen, one of the vet tech who was there, was holding onto her hand, and I was dialing 911 as fast as I could. And I discovered a couple of things. One is that after the dispatcher dispatches the ambulance, they of course keep you on, and they ask you all these questions you don't know the answer to. Like, is she epileptic? Is she diabetic? How old? Don't know. And secondly, that apparently EMS might not have the proper technology to find places, because we could hear the ambulance from the front of the building for several minutes, and because there were several of us there, and we one of our people went out and got the ambulance. He drove over to where they were. They got lost trying to find it. But by that time, they had put her on the treatment table where we usually, deal with cats, laid her on her side, and she sort of came to, because she was basically unconscious that whole little bit. And Jen says, okay, before you do anything, before you move, you're on the medical treatment table. What? How did that happen? So she's lying down, and we're getting ready to get the ambulance people in there. And so we called her husband, Tom, to tell him what was going on. And she had been going to take a cat home who she was fostering. And instead of worrying about herself, she's there telling, now with these cats, don't forget you have to do these things. And with this cat, you've got to make sure you do this thing. And actually, once the EMTs got there, she answered all the questions. All of her vitals were normal. And so she declined the ambulance ride. She didn't really want to do that, and is just going to follow up with her doctor. And I made her promise me, so I'm assuming she did. But man, that is scary. I did not enjoy that. But I'm kind of glad she didn't get in the ambulance, because so many people I know have gotten in ambulances and gone to the hospital alive and come out dead. So I think it's just better she didn't go. But they just may be a little bit of paranoia on my part. But she's doing better. The very next morning, she went for her morning walk and was scheduling a doctor's appointment. But very scary. What? No, 911 definitely answered like that. Oh, that's awful. No, our 911 answered, which was very good. Dorothy, did you have a question or comment? Dorothy has a comment.
A cousin of mine who's an EMT mentioned that if you still have a landline, 911 will find you immediately. But if you have a cell phone, it's more iffy. So that was interesting, and I can understand why that would be.
Yes, but I gave them the address.
Well, then that's no excuse.
Well, maybe not the whole out. I probably just said Wake SBCA on Pet Finder Lane. I didn't say the actual thing. Anyway,
This is also related, but I hate to be paranoid, but I've heard a lot of things lately, like the Pittsburgh post office lost their phones and internet for like 2 or 3 days. So there was no postal services. They did get packages, but they kept them in the back. There were several things like that. It just really makes you wonder what the heck is going on.
it's a scary time. At any rate, to help us through this scary time, we're going to call up Fred to do opening words.
I feel completely naked. I left my cell phone at home. It's horrible. So I actually, fortunately, have a printed copy, which I wasn't going to do. I was just going to, I'll just read it off my phone, but maybe I'll print it. Good thing. Pyotr Alexeyevich Kropotkin was the son of Prince Alexeyev Petrovich Kropotkin, and he served as an aide to Tsar Alexander II from 1862 to 1867, and as an army officer in the Army of Siberia, where apart from his military duties, he studied animal life and biology and engaged in geographic exploration. Kropotkin's findings won him immediate recognition, along with the fact that he was the son of a prince, and opened the way to a distinguished scientific career. In 1871, however, he refused the secretaryship of the Russian Geological Society and renounced his aristocratic heritage, dedicating his life to the cause of social justice. In Mutual Aid, which is widely regarded as his masterpiece, he argued that despite the Darwinian concept of survival of the fittest, cooperation rather than conflict is the chief factor in the evolution, or a chief factor in the evolution of species. This providing abundant examples, including things like the Red Cross, for example. He showed that sociability is a dominant feature at every level in the animal world, and among humans too. He found that mutual aid has been the rule rather than the exception. He fled Tsarist Russia in 1876 to escape persecution. Kropotkin returned to Russia in 1917, the year of the revolution, with hopes for a truly free and decentralized society, but he became disappointed with the Bolsheviks and their authoritarian swing towards dictatorship. And they were antithetical to his libertarian socialist kind of ideals. He died in 1921 before Stalin had a chance to kill him, which was good because Stalin took over in about 24. A key quote on cooperation from Kropotkin's famous book, Mutual Aid: "Practicing mutual aid is the surest means for giving each other and to all the greatest safety, the best guarantee of existence and progress, bodily, intellectually, and morally." And with that, I will turn the program back over to.
Just make this shorter, shall we? Better. Okay, so I guess I'm in the situation of introducing myself. Those of you in the room know that I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Ethical Humanist Society of the Triangle. And my current other cooperative activities include volunteering at the Wake SPCA and singing for the Cardinal Singers of Raleigh, who, by the way, quick plug, we will be singing both at the State House in the holiday season and the Governor's Mansion, so that's pretty cool. At any rate, the discussion I have today, you will probably note that it says Maura, Breidt, and EHST participants. This is because I want these few slides to be a jump-off point for us to talk about some of these issues. Just giving you fair warning. So, let's see. Wait. All of life is a collaboration. The destiny of men and women is to create a new world, to reveal a new life, to remember that there exists a frontier for everything except dreams. In history, there are not solitary dreamers. One dreamer breathes life into the next. Quote from Sebastião Salgado. He was actually a Brazilian social documentary photographer and photojournalist. He lived from 1944 until 23rd of May of this year. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I wanted to pop it in there. That said, the first thing about collaboration I wanted to talk about is collaboration versus competition, which is why we have the picture of the hands all together, and there's the Marlboro Man. That actually is, in my view, a picture of reality versus myth, because the big American myth is, I'll get there on my own, I'll pull myself up by my own bootstraps, and all that nonsense, because nobody gets anywhere on their own anywhere in the world. There are always other people around one way or another. And in fact, when people were going pioneering westward, the ones who did the best were ones who had several wagons, not just one. But this Marlboro Man myth still prevails with a lot of people today. And I actually consider it to be a little bit dangerous. There's a Surgeon General's warning on the bottom of there, and perhaps there should be one about the myth also. I just don't know. But before we move on, I want to mention something Fred said about cooperation. And some of the definitions of collaboration talked about cooperation meaning people getting together to do things that would benefit each of them individually in different ways, where collaboration was people coming together for a similar cause and trying to make change with that cause as opposed to helping them their own selves, which I thought was interesting. So why should we collaborate? No King's Day is a really good example of incredibly successful collaboration. First of all, with collaboration, you've got greater diversity of people, greater diversity of ideas, new and different points of view. For our point of view, specifically in our group, we also would like to collaborate because more people can learn about our organization, and that's always a good thing. And we can make a much greater impact. The No Kings Rally coming up this month on October 18th, there are over 200 partners listed on the website. And that is how they have blanketed the country with demonstrations, and not just the US. There's other countries that are having No Kings Rally that same day, which I think is really cool. I can kind of understand why they are, but I still think it's cool. So that's a really big thing. Greater impact if you have people you're working with. So part of what you do to collaborate is you create partnerships and alliances, and you seek out groups who share common values. And I've put 4 that we have worked with: Kol Haskalah Sunday Assembly, Triangle Free Thought Society, and the Secular Women of the Triangle. Those are just 4 of an awful lot of groups that we could be working with, but still having those 4 is a good start because these are people we've done things with. Because there's many possibilities with partnerships. Shared programming. We did a shared program with Kol Haskalah, and we should do more because that was actually really cool. We had a sort of a panel set up to answer questions, and every single member of that panel, 2 from EHST and 2 from Kol Haskalah, responded to the question in a different way. And there again, you can see different points of view, different people, different ideas. Demonstrations. I think actually it would be really nice to be able to combine with some of these other groups at demonstrations and have a larger presence of secular solidarity. There's also things like tabling at events. We just did tabling at Durham Pride, and EHST was beside Sunday Assembly. And then there was also Secular Women of the Triangle, and then further over, Triangle Free Thought Society. All 4 of these groups were all together, and that was nice because we could point back and forth. As it turns out, Sunday Assembly meets in person on the second Sunday, which is the Sunday that we don't meet in person. So we would say, hey, we meet these days, but the second Sunday, check out Sunday Assembly also. So we did some back and forthing, and we got some good information from these other groups also. Also, ethical events. Earlier in the year, we did a Rise Against Hunger with several groups, again, including Rise Against Hunger, not Rise Against Hunger, come on, Triangle Free Thought, Secular Women, Sunday Assembly. Dorothy, I don't know if there was another one. I think okay, those were the ones. So we combined with them, again, to make more impact. And we could also work with them on things like social events. We've got 2 social Sundays coming up in the next 2 months. The last meeting of the year, which is on the winter solstice, December 21st, we've already decided is going to be a social Sunday with food and enjoyment. And we have talked to Cole Haskala a little bit, and we're going to reach out to Cole Haskala and talk to some of these other groups and say, hey, we'd love to have you come to this. And right around Thanksgiving time, on November 23rd, we're doing Foods of the Americas again. And we'll have to come up with that list. Amy, I think it was you that came up with the list of foods, because it's potluck, and we're trying to highlight foods from these areas to sort of honor who and what was already here when Columbus sailed over, So it's a nice kind of Thanksgiving. So these are ideas, more ideas to get to know people better, because if we get to know them better as people, it also makes it easier to say, hey, let's partner on this, let's partner on that. The human part of this is a really important deal. That other one was a slide that should not have been there. In fact, I really don't know how it got in there. So that said, I did warn you, this was a very brief discussion. The discussion I hope will be long, very brief presentation. But we have questions that I want us to consider, and any other questions or comments that people have. The ones I was thinking of first was, do we care? Do we want to collaborate at all? And if so, what do we want? What do we want from these alliances? What do we want to get for us? What do we want to give to other people? What's our purpose doing this? And most importantly, to me, what are we willing to do to make this happen? Because unfortunately, like many, many groups, it tends to be just a few people who do things, and then eventually they burn out. So then you get a few more new few people. And we've got to figure out how to re-engage people who are not engaged. That said, we're going to stop for a commercial break. Our society is an all-volunteer organization, and we receive no money from any other organization. We survive due to your commitment to our common goals. So we pass the basket and thank you in advance for your generous donations. And while Fred goes around passing baskets, ground rules for QA. If you are on Zoom, please type comments into the chat because Chris will not be able to hear you. I'm very sorry. We have a very basic Zoom mode. For the people in the room, raise your hand, wait for the microphone, one question at a time, all the standard things. However, we have lots of time and not a lot of people. So really, if people have a lot to say, this is a good day to take advantage of that. And I'm going to flip this over to somewhere I can type on ideas. And if anybody wants to come up with ideas that they want me to write down, I will do so.
Jean.
Well, I will say with the Rise Against Hunger, for example, it's useful to partner to have an didn't have to people are going to show up and do bags. That wouldn't have been their preference. They want 20 or 30 because that makes it useful for them to do. And we have money, so I think we should use it for something useful.
Again, as an additive effect, the Secular Women of the Triangle is hosting an event midweek, if there are people, during the day that have, like us retired people, who can do that, where we're, I guess, sorting and folding clothes for a certain And so far, there were only 2 of us, and it's mid-September is the event. So,
Wait, mid-September, mid-October?
oh, I'm sorry, October. Okay, I'll look at it. Sorry, because yeah, do I remember anything? So.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to the discussion in that we have collected a really nice list of about 24 different groups that are mostly in the area. Some of them are more national groups. I have plans to do stuff with that list. The key phrase there is I have plans. And it's because I have plans to do a lot of things, and I'm working full time and I'm lazy and I have other interests. And so I plead guilty to not acting rapidly and wisely on this tremendous list we've generated. But we do have that as a resource. And now that I'm temporarily unemployed, I'm happy to do that. Why am I temporarily unemployed? U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Research Service, we're not being paid and we're not working. And that's the rule because we're on furlough. So, yeah. So I have a little bit of time last few days, and I've been catching up with things, and that's one that I will think to work on.
I don't know, that guy we talked to, David Hoffman, who has these groups. He started this Partners for Racial Justice and he's got a bunch of other ones. I don't know like how serious he is about this. He is starting a massive group collaboration between different, sort of, I call it pro-social, I guess, pro-ethical, groups. And they'll probably have like a website, and like
Could you
events.
repeat his name and his organization for us?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know him that well, but I know he starts a lot of organizations. He started something called Partners in Racial Justice, and we went to their event, I guess it was June 7th or something. And I think you guys came, and David Hoffman. Right. So he wants to start something, and I think it is essential that someone start it if it doesn't exist, which is kind of a warehouse, like a website for all humanist organizations in the Triangle so that we can collaborate. Because like you said earlier, everyone has their own days and times that they meet. And even when you are retired, it's not easy to make a schedule and go to everything you want to go to. So I think even with scheduling, all these groups have to somehow, maybe send a representative once this thing gets formed and find out what's going on and, share it. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'll add, I think I have his card at home, and Maura, you can make a note in there as an action item for me is to contact him because we talked about it at that meeting. Yeah.
Stan Henshaw, who is attending via Zoom, said, "Yes, I am completely in favor of as much cooperation as possible. This will be satisfying for us and will increase the visibility of VHST."
Yeah, rising tide lifts all boats, right? So can we challenge anybody else to share some thoughts? Christine, add to your thoughts.
I'm sorry, this is but since it's open. The 16th, from 1 to 4 at Note in the Pocket at the Durham location. It is volunteer sorting clothes there.
I would suggest that perhaps we, if you might be able to write up a little blurb about that and send it to Dorothy, then if she could
Okey-doke.
potentially add it to the newsletter.
Okay. Well, good. It looks like there's more than 2 people signed up now, so I feel better.
That's another thing is that when people have ideas and thoughts and things they want in the newsletter, it's awfully nice to put in the blurb yourself and then send it so the person writing the newsletter doesn't have to figure all that out. They have enough to do.
One thing that occurs to me, particularly with secular women of the triangle, they're primarily Raleigh based. And I know that one of their meetup coordinators told me during the Rise event that they really want to branch out more into Durham, and they have done some of that. But we have not. Our events are still primarily in Chapel Hill or Pittsburgh, and it could be that maybe we could start having a happy hour closer to, or closer to the center of the triangle, and specifically ask them in or something, because I think the geographics is not in our favor, just because most of the triangle is east of us.
John?
Yeah, we have a ethical action activity coming up in about a month, which was helping in Jordan Lake cleanup.
Do we have a date yet?
Well, that's what I'm about to talk about.
Sorry.
We have a tentative date of November 2nd, because that's the fall annual, the fall cleanup, and all volunteers are accepted. But you participate as an individual, not as an organization. And so you have to sign up individually. Now, that's what I thought we would do, but given this conversation, there's another possibility. They have large group cleanups. If you can get a minimum of 15 people, and it goes up from there as high as you like, they'll post your event with your name, the organization's name, and they'll supply a guide who will bring all the materials and talk you through the cleanup your group does. I don't think we can get enough volunteers just from EHST, but if we partner with one or more other organizations, I think we could get enough people. And we can do that pretty much any time, any date we pick. So,
Except for maybe not November 2nd, since it's a.
yeah. So we could do it later. We could even do it earlier, although the notice becomes a little short because it's already October 5th. But we could do it later in November, and it could be EHST and one or two other groups combining. And I'm sure with one or two other groups, we could get at least 15 people to participate. And that would be a nice activity to get to know some of these other people as we go through the activity of doing Jordan Lake cleanup. And also we get to pick where we do the cleanup activity. There are various places around Jordan Lake,
Okay.
and we can choose one that, looks good.
I think that sounds great. I also think that November 16th, we don't have a program for yet. And that would be, I wouldn't want to, October is pretty well booked up.
Yeah.
But if we did it on November 16th, we'd have plenty of lead time. And I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah.
So if you were able to, when do we have to tell them how many people we have, as long as we have more than 15?
I could sign up as early as today and take a chance and commit that we'll have more than 15.
Go for it. We'll make it happen.
But before I sign up, I have to know which groups are doing it with us.
Give me 2 days.
Okay, fine. So if we can get at least one other group, better yet, two. Yeah.
So for the Zoom audience, Stevie just mentioned we could probably get the community church also. Because just because somebody has the name church in their title doesn't mean we don't have views and common goals. So that's a good suggestion. Is that something you can talk about? Okay. So action item for Stevie, call somebody at the community church.
So just so I understand this, so I should look to you in a few days to
Yep.
see who the
What
cooperating
group?
organization would be.
Yep,
And as soon as I know that, I can go online and submit all the information.
perfect.
Okay, great.
Chris.
Tova Wax, who is with us on Zoom, has made a couple statements. First, as also a member of the Kol Haskala, she wanted to mention that we have a monthly, that is Kol Haskala does, has a monthly discussion group, usually the last Sunday morning of each month with bagels. All are welcome to attend. If interested, can communicate upcoming meetings and topics. I think that'd be nice to know about. And then also wonder if you ever do presentations at retirement communities. For example, some people at our Cedars of Chapel Hill might be interested. Yeah, I got to scroll down. Might be interested in learning more about EHST. So that's a possibility. So thank you, Tova.
Yeah, I would follow up on that comment and suggest that we consider, and I'd like to see maybe a show of hands or something and how you all feel as an idea of sharing a meeting like Tova was suggesting with their group Kol Haskala, for example, having a joint meeting, letting them perhaps lead, invite them here, or we could go to their meeting location as one of our Sunday meetings. And it would be probably at a different time, but would folks be interested in something like that? All right, well, let me see. Would anybody want to raise hands? I'm sorry. Kol Haskala. It's a secular Jewish group. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see a show of hands. All right. Atish, a question or comment? Well, that's who they are. Yeah. And they were actually here. We had a joint meeting last a year ago, I guess, or so. Yeah. Maybe.
I'd be happy to volunteer to reach out to Sam Anderson, who posts the meetup for Sunday Assembly, and ask him if he thinks they might have people who would be interested in the November, whatever it was.
Okay, so you're going to
Effort.
take the Sunday assembly. Perfect.
Right, for the, for the Jordan Lake thing.
Okay. Sunday, November 16th. Yep. So it'll be an ethical action Sunday, basically. Or for people who are not able to do the ethical action, it is a mini vacation.
Yeah, I mentioned Kol Haskala in that comment, but it could be any of the other groups too, mainly because I was sort of responding to Tova's comment from the Zoom. But I think that would be kind of fun to do occasionally if the program committee is interested. And it looks like we have some consensus among memberships that might be kind of fun, is to arrange joint meetings with some of these groups if we can, if they're interested.
I think these are great ideas. I will say that my challenge would be how many of our members are going to attend? And I would love to hear ideas as to how we get people back in the room who are sort of not coming as much. And I don't know if anybody has any suggestions about that.
Do things far in advance, like do it 2 months before. Say, we're looking for people to do this event. Can you commit? Please respond by this date.
Yeah.
And give them enough time because people are overwhelmed. And John, can I ask you, what is the time of the November 16th? Because I'm writing an email to someone from the community church. What time is the cleanup on November?
What time is the Jordan Lake cleanup?
On, what time?
But the duration is usually 2 hours.
So can I just say like 2 to 4 p.m.? Okay.
Dorothy did have her hand up,
Yeah,
but
I
it
was gonna
disappeared.
pass, but she's busy typing. You had a comment.
Um, I don't know if we have been able to reach out to the members in North Carolina of the American Humanist Association.
Ah.
And I don't know how to get that information, but that's an obvious place we could go to look at it, not in the immediate terms of what we're talking about, but to look to get more awareness of who we are.
Any other comments on folks we might collaborate with or have joint meetings with?
I attended an event at ERUF, and they have a humanist group. I don't know anyone there, but that might be one possibility. I don't know anyone at ERUF or anyone in that group.
The community church is part of that. Just like, Channel Hill.
So I have one contact at ERUF, so I'd be happy to add that to the Sunday Assembly thing, and that's, oh God, what's her name? Eric Thomas's wife, and they've come here to speak. They're musicians, and she's very active in that humanist group, and she's the one who coordinates the North Carolina postcarding for the politics stuff that we do. So I'll reach out to her, just see.
I don't know whether we want to start with telling them that we want them to do a Jordan Lake cleanup. That would be my only thing, but we could. But we also would probably want to mention that we would love to have them join us if they're available for a couple of these social events. Okay, fair enough.
Maybe three,
Yeah, we may be adding too many groups.
total of three organizations. Otherwise, it might get actually too big and
Yeah.
the opportunity to socialize would go down.
No, that's fine.
Getting this.
I'm getting my exercise today.
So I was thinking of, I was writing to Ruth Gibson, who does a lot of the, stuff at the community church for volunteers. I was thinking of saying that we're also talking to other humanist groups. We're hoping for a total of around 20 people.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, we're hoping, I didn't send it yet.
Okay.
I said, we're hoping for a total of around 20 to 30 people. So I'm saying like 20 to 30, and then just say, contribute as many or as few as of that 20 as you want, to help clean up.
Well, yeah, we may be pushing it with groups simply because it'd be nice to keep up the contacts with some of these groups we've already done things with. I like the idea of reaching out to the other groups, but I would hesitate to skip the ones we've already collaborated with, simply because I think part of the deal is to strengthen the bonds that we have and not simply open a whole bunch of new ones and not do as much.
Maura, I think you might want to go at it this way, which is to say, we would love for you to share the publicity, and we would love you to five members from your group before you get the official sponsorship. So, if you can send 5 people, then we're for co-sponsored. But less than that, they just come and be friends, but that's not sponsorship.
We're going to have to sit closer together in the future.
Yeah, on the Clean Jordan Lake website, they have a list of all upcoming events, and they list them by, for these large groups, they list them by organization name. So we would list the 2 or 3 organizations that are participating with us. And so that's how it would show up on their website.
Well, I think we need to come to some consensus as to which groups we're having go before we send any emails about anything yet. Because right now we have about 5 or 6 groups that we're talking about, and that's too many. John was suggesting maybe 3 or 4 total, including us. Because the group becomes unwieldy after a while.
I mean, we only have a small selection of our membership here, but how many here, if such an event is put together, would participate and actually come out and do cleaning? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and wait, I see more. Okay, that's good.
And we may get more folks that aren't here that would be interested. Sure. Yeah.
They think would be the best fit for this. Chris?
I suggest we contact the other partners we've had before
Yeah.
and see if they're interested. And then if they're not, then expand to
Okay.
invite more others.
So maybe Stevie, you can draft. Oh, okay, perfect.
So I have a question, Maura. Could you, you might have other things to go to next. I'd be interested to hear a little more about the planned event in December. And have any plans been made or?
The social event in December?
Yeah, with the,
Social event in December has been loosely planned, as in it's on the calendar, and now we need to work to get people to come to it.
okay, so the stage we're at is it's time to start thinking about inviting folks.
It's time to start inviting people.
And it's going to be here.
It will be
One of
here.
our, do we know the date for that meeting?
Sunday, December 21st.
Sunday, December 21st. So right before the holiday.
Because we're not even meeting on December 28th, in case anybody wonders.
I speak pretty loud. Probably people would hear me, but is this something where you can invite others? besides-
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
We are maybe going to ask them to do a little RSVPing simply so we'll have an idea how many tables we should have, although that's kind of flexible too. I mean, we'll ask them to RSVP and then we'll see if they do, and we'll have numbers based on what we think. Especially since it'll be a potluck type of thing, the food quantities are easier to deal with.
Regarding RSVPing, we may want to try using something like Eventbrite to
That's a great idea.
get people to register and to participate, because that would be the easier way for multiple, if you want to invite a lot of people, to know who's
Yeah.
signed up and communicate.
I'm going to write that down. That's excellent.
That's an outstanding idea, I think. Yeah, it'll put some formal structure to our invites when we arrange things to use a social media site like that. That would be great.
But also realize that I use Eventbrite a lot, for the Art Guild. Realize that you might have 100 people sign up in Eventbrite, but only 5 will come.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hopefully not quite that skewed, but yes.
Yeah. And I think the key to this is the human contact part, where we talk to people as well. I like the idea of the formal structure of signing up, but person-to-person communication with these groups, if you have friends or folks you know in these different groups, talking to them about it is always a really, really good idea. And I think that can increase the likelihood that we'll fill a room or fill a meeting out at a cleanup or something like that.
Just Stevie, just to give you a contrast for Eventbrite, and I'm not meaning to debate you, I'm just telling you another experience. The Farrington had an event where I live, had an event, and it did have free food, so that of course skewed the results. But we had to stop, shut down our Eventbrite after almost 200 people said that they were coming. And then when they came, we did a count, and it was well over 200 people showed up. And it was what we had was barbecue, from Allen and Son.
Ooh.
So one way to entice people to come out is to have good food. And I'm not criticizing anybody here who brings food. We might want to have something, an event catered or something like that if we really want to try and take a risk. So.
That's a good possibility.
And maybe for our holiday event, we could have some catering. We can afford that.
Another idea for a holiday event, if you're willing to change it, is to get these other humanist groups together and have a massive humanist holiday party.
That's essentially what this,
That would
It's
be
gonna
what
be
this
for-
event is.
that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And a solstice celebration.
Solstice celebration and humanist party.
Oh, I was just going to say that the Triangle Free Thought Society hosts Festivus for the rest of us in December, but I can't find the date. So
Mark that down and we'll see if we can find that so we don't conflict or join them.
I might just mention, I didn't attend last year, but the Triangle, the Festivus for the rest of us technically is limited just to members only, although are they still doing that? And they've not enforced it very strictly, but I've come and brought Jean, but technically it's for members only of the Free Thought Society.
But I do like the idea of catering, getting some food in, something like that, if we have an event that we want others to join.
I know good catering places in Raleigh, but I don't so much in Chapel Hill anymore, so I'll need help with that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In Raleigh, it's Neomond. Yeah. I call it the nematode, but
Yeah, Neomond actually catered our wedding. Yeah.
they catered our wedding. It was delicious. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's all buried in the record for, although we're not recording this, are we? Oh, holy cow. Oh, all right, all right. Yeah.
Christina has a question. Okay. We actually have a lot of good suggestions and ideas, and I really hope that at least the people in the room now will buy into it and help us out with it, because if we're going to reach out to other people, we have to have the us to reach out to other people. And I'll be honest, that's my biggest worry.
Yeah.
We don't always have enough us. I mean, I can eat a whole bunch more, but I don't know how much it'll help. So we're going to wrap things up so that we can enjoy the refreshments that are invisible.
Announcements.
Let's see. So at this time, we actually have announcements. So Fred is going to keep on passing that exciting mic.
I have an announcement. There is a restaurant in Chapel Hill, just the rest of on the Meadowmount area called the Bluebird. It's a French restaurant,
The Bluebird?
Bluebird,
Okay.
and they are starting a event it's on Mondays, dinner, a prefix menu on Mondays.
Ooh.
So I was thinking of getting a group together to see if anybody was interested. Monday evenings, yes, dinners.
Possibly. Stevie.
This is not about me, but the Farrington Artists Association is having their tour. It's Saturday. I have some brochures in my car if people want some. I'm not in this, but I'm just helping them. I think it's Saturday from 10 to 5 and Sunday from noon to 5 next weekend.
Next week. Oh, wow.
I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to be in New York, but then I volunteered to sit and help somebody with their studio. So come to Ruth Parks' studio. She's not a relative of mine, but we have the same last name and we are friends.
Fair enough. Another announcement is that there is book club following today. And Dorothy had her hand up, so she may have an announcement.
I don't have an announcement. Actually, I have a question. So I saw an email come in about our scholarship that we have awarded to a secular student, I
Yes.
think in Greensboro.
Mhm.
I don't know what the planning is as far as having her meet us or whatever, but maybe she could be included in some of this stuff.
That's an excellent suggestion.
Maura, do you know the date of the members meeting? The 19th. So, and that's
That's 2 weeks
2
away.
weeks from today. We're having a members meeting. It would be very, very helpful. This is my announcement. If all of you could come, we're going to have a vote. This was announced a couple weeks ago or a week or so ago, MailChimp thing. And we're going to have a vote about how to possibly invest some of our money. This involves some risk. This is not a risk-free thing. And our idea is to invest some of the money that we have to use to fund ethical action events. And so we would like, the board would like member input on this important topic because we're risking our funds in this
Low
process.
risk, but risk.
We're going to look for very low risk investment, but something that'll give us a decent return and we can use that money to fund ethical action events. And that vote will be at the members meeting. And we hope to see you all there and contribute your thoughts on this important issue.
I just looked at my calendar and Wednesday will be the second Wednesday of the month. So there will be a happy hour occurring on Wednesday. I don't know where you guys are meeting now, so because Todd took over for me. So let me get with Todd and the newsletter will have the details. Newsletter might not come out till Tuesday, but there will be a happy hour in Chapel Hill on Wednesday.
And since Fred is not currently employed, we might be able to come.
We might even go. That'd be fun. Okay. Well, the announcement will be, it'll be sent out. It'll be sent out in the email.
Another announcement is that next Sunday is Zoom only. Please do not show up here. You'll be very lonely and Eric might not even let you in. There will be a board meeting after the meeting. I would tell you what next Sunday's meeting is, but we have a small conflict that needs to be resolved and I should know by Monday, I have been promised. So we are either going to have one thing or another, and I'm not going to tell you either because you're going to go away remembering them and then it'll be the wrong one. So yes, there's a meeting next Sunday.
And one of the items we're going to discuss at the board meeting next week is the signage that we have, those signs that we have for outside. The writing is small on one, the other one's a big heavy metal thing. So we're going to talk about that issue.
Yeah.
And Chris came in here. I just wanted to also say during our members meeting, I have a suggestion for how we meet in the future, where we meet and how we meet. So I will be presenting that as well.
Really important.
Yeah. So I hope, all of you can make it to that and encourage other members of the society to attend so we can have good feedback. Thank you.
That is Sunday, October 19th, 2 weeks away. Any further? Oh, that is the day after No King's Day. And that's just one more quick announcement. We are going to be going, at least individually, please sign up for No King's Day events in your area and wear your EHS t-shirts if at all possible. They even on the No Kings website, they even have signs that you can download for printing. You don't even have to come up with your own signs,
Regarding that, you never know who you're going to meet at one of these. We met someone at the Pittsburgh, one of the Pittsburgh protests. Jane, my wife, talked to her. We had lunch with her. very interesting person, worked at UNC. Her grants had been canceled. She later appeared in The Guardian, a newspaper, about her plight at UNC Chapel Hill. So you never know who you're going to run into.
Which it brings another thing that I think we might discuss during members meeting. Our brochure for membership is a great thing to have, but we need something better to hand out to people just at casual events, possibly a postcard size. We saw those a lot. It's just another discussion.
That's very nice. You know, the postcard of that is fine. It's on the back.
Postcard of that is fun, with stuff on the back and possibly with QR codes that people can snap, because we want to hit different technology comfort zones. If we have a website, people can go to it, but there's a lot of people who just want to click a QR code, and it's not hard to do. Fred promises me. Any further announcements? That said, we will hand it over to Fred for closing words.
That's good. All right. According to the Encyclopedia online web version, is any difference between members of two different commensalism and parasitism. So both positive, beneficial, and negative, unfavorable or harmful associations are therefore included in the definition. And the members of the group are called symbionts. And so Lynn Margolis argued that symbiosis and cooperation was a extremely valuable evolutionary strategy. With cooperation, groups can outperform individuals. Margolis is famous for her work on cooperation and symbiosis, which she viewed as central to the theory of evolution. There is strong conflict with the prevailing views at the time when she was working in the 60s, mainly with the neo-Darwinist views about random mutation and survival of the fittest. So we're all understanding that basic evolutionary theory is it's not directed in any sense. It's reflective in the sense that you have an organism randomly mutating, changing, and only the fittest ones survive. But Margolis's ideas included the fact that those that cooperate survive better in groups and working together. Margolis was also a prominent voice for women in science and a balanced life, and greatly contributed to changing the male-dominated culture of science at the time, where long hours and workaholic behavior were considered admirable and the ideal way to go. She felt that a balanced family life and a balanced life was a much better thing. And as a former graduate student who worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, I feel now, and I tell all my students, that having a balanced life is exceedingly important, and you need to pay attention to that. I'll leave you with a quote from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Competition has been shown to be useful up to a certain point and no further, but cooperation, which is the thing we must strive for today, begins where competition leaves off. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Fred, for lovely opening and closing words. Thank you, Chris, for being the Zoom Commander-in-Chief. The Zoom title changes on a regular basis. John and Marge, we appreciate your efforts over there. They look very nice, quite elegant. And Jean and John, much appreciate the greetings. Have I left anybody out? Oh, okay. I thank myself, or as Judy Maura, a former colleague, used to say, but I am anyway. English was not her first language. So at this point, our meeting is over, but our fellowship continues. We have about half an hour, a little bit